downtown Cincinnati in a short turnaround after a long one here last night. And it's a rubber game in this three-game series between the Brewers and the Reds from Great American Ballpark. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jeff Pecoro, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds Baseball. Feels like we just left you only a few moments ago. Cody Reed is getting a start here today. He's thrown the ball very well out of the bullpen since coming back from AAA Louisville.
This is a new, improved version of Cody Reed, we hope anyway. A guy that seems much more within himself on the mound, much cooler character on the mound as well. And that's the biggest, I think, adjustment that Cody Reed has to make. He's got plenty of stuff to pitch in the major leagues. He's got 3 quality pitches: fastball, slider, changeup. He's going to need them all today. But most of all, he's got to keep his cool out there. And also remember, the way the Reds bullpen has been beat up the last few days, they need a long outing out of him.
Unbelievable night last night. Unbelievable series for Christian Yelich.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of times in a ball game when a pitcher has to really bear down and hit his spots. Number one is when the game's on the line, runner at third base. The other time is when you've got a guy as hot as Christian Yelich is, because anything near the strike zone, in his hot zone, he's putting the barrel on it big time. You've got to keep the ball down, change speeds. And by the way, I think the most important thing is probably pitch well to the guys who are hitting ahead of Christian Yelich, because right now it seems like he's doing whatever he wants with the baseball.
When we come back, Joey Votto returns to the lineup, trying to help Cody Reed get the win in a starting role. First pitch coming up next on Fox Sports Ohio.
And we're looking for the win so we can take the series, right? First pitch, mostly cloudy at 78. Early game, 12:35, so the weather does look better for us. Spotty shower chance and not as hot. Still a little humid though. 80 to 81 our predicted high as we take on the Brewers. Bring home the win, guys. Good luck.
All righty, thank you very much. And look who's back in the lineup. Just brought off the disabled list today before the game. And that is Joey Votto. Since the 17th of August, had been on the 10-day disabled list. Got hit on the right knee, you may remember, by a Ryan Madsen fastball going all the way back to the 4th of August. He did not look like the same player, trying to play through it for a couple of weeks. But back in there today, and on the mound, it's left-hander Cody Reed. For Reed, it's his second start, his first since the month of April.
Cody Reed, now 25 years old. He made his major league debut with the Reds back in 2016 at age 23. And looking for a win here this afternoon. He's pitching out of the bullpen exclusively this year for Reed, and not down in the minor leagues where he was a starter. Did quite a good job his last few starts before being called up. But the Reds wanted to ease him into this thing a little bit. They've created a spot in the starting rotation. They've moved Sal Romano out. They have put Robert Stevenson on the disabled list. So here Reed is going to get a chance to pitch every 5 days for a while.
Let's take a look at Craig Counsell's starting lineup. The Brewers at 14 games over the 500 mark. Kane, Yelich, Aguilar, Braun, Scope, Moustakas, Salater third, of Hernan Perez at short, Kratz catching, Wade Miley a left-hander. So a pair of lefties going at it today. Kane digging in, ball one, we're underway. Dick Marley calls the balls and strikes. Lance Barrett at first, Bill Welke the crew chief at second, Tony Randazzo the umpire at third base. A whole lot of hitting going on in this series. Two teams combining for 15 runs last night, or 25 runs last night, 16 runs the night before, I beg your pardon. So a whopping 41 runs have been scored in the first two games of this series. Will it slow down here today? 2-1 on Kane, and now 2-2. Crowd still filing in here to Great American Ballpark on a very comfortable afternoon, trying to avoid the possibility of showers. And there's a walk to the very first batter of the game by Reed.
Kind of an odd pitch, really, on a 3-2 count to throw a little slider right there. Maybe Reed thought that he's got good control of that, but certainly want to get things going in the right direction by challenging these guys. The interesting really numbers for the Brewers against left-handed pitchers this year. They have really struggled against them. They've not faced very many at all. They are a total of 15-17 against left-handed starters.
Christian Yelich, what a night he had last night. You talk about bringing the energy, brought to you by IGS. 6 hits, including hitting for the cycle in a single game. Since 1908, it's only been done 4 times. Ian Kinsler, the last to do it in 09, until we saw Yelich here last night. So rare indeed. Votto will play to first base, and Kane safely into second, 1 out. The Reds on defense, presented by Ford. They had a late scratch in their lineup. Eugenio Suarez apparently suffering from some back spasms. He was in the lineup at third base with Dixon at second. But with Suarez out, Dixon to third, and Dilson Herrera gets a nod at second base. Would like to think nothing serious for Eugenio Suarez.
Probably use the day off anyway. The guy's been a horse out there playing nearly every day. And it looks like his bat, even though he hit a home run last night, the opposite field shot, he could probably use a little day of breather.
Jesus Aguilar hit a long home run here last night. It broke the tie in the top half of the 10th inning. Into the camera well and straight away center field. Both Aguilar and Eugenio Suarez hitting their 30th home runs of this season here last night. 0-2 the count. Try to get him a chase a fastball high. That one tilts out of play, and it remains 2 balls and 2 strikes on the Milwaukee first baseman.
Got a good location pitch right there, not necessarily to make the count full, because now you're forced to throw a strike to Aguilar. Maybe something soft and down and away. Looking for it. You know, when you come out of the bullpen like Cody Reed has done most recently, oftentimes you're limited to 2 pitches. You throw your 2 best pitches, and for Reed, that's his fastball and his slider. When you start, you add an extra one, and that's his changeup, which is a quality pitch, but I'm not so sure how much he's thrown it the last couple of weeks.
Herrera will take a look at Kane, who scampers back to the bag, and the soft lined 1 hopper becomes the second out of the inning. Ryan Braun coming up.
Thank goodness for good positioning. It's a rare start for Dilson Herrera at second base. We've seen him really more in left field and all around the other parts of the infield than we have at second base this year. It's been pretty much firmly taken over by Scooter Gennett.
It's a 4 start at second base this year for Herrera, his first since the 4th of August when the team was in Washington. He's made 2 starts at third, and his only career 5 starts in left field, most recently over the weekend in Chicago. 1-1 on Ryan Braun. And now 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, that's a slider that you see. If you see it 84, 85 miles an hour, even up to 87 or 88, that's a slider that he throws. It'll go down and into right-handers. You can't help but look at Reed and remind yourself of Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner a little bit more across his body than Reed is, but both big, tall left-handers with a big, long arm sling.
So after a leadoff walk, as the throw is on target, Reed retires 3 in a row. Runner stranded in scoring position. Reds are coming up when we return. Tri-State Chevy dealer and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Reds come to bat here in the bottom of the first inning, and the lineup is as follows. It'll be Schebler, Peraza, and Votto back in the lineup. Urban in the cleanup spot, Casali behind the plate, Herrera at second, a ladder third of Dixon, Williams, and Reed against Wade Miley. They brought him in to a minor league deal during the offseason, got injured at the end of spring training, so started the year on the disabled list, and he'll get an out with his first pitch, a fly ball to the track, and Kane able to run it down. They activated him in May. His first game was against the Reds, 6 innings, 3 hits, and 1 run. Wound up going back on the disabled list about a week and a half later, did not come back until July, and by and large has been a very good pitcher since returning.
Yeah, the earned run average may be a little deceiving right there because he does walk a lot of batters, but he keeps the ball in the ballpark for the most part. Miley does, and he's a guy that if you want to know what the definition of a cutter is, well, you're going to get it here this afternoon with Miley on the mound.
Miley lost 15 games, had an ERA of over 5.5 with the Baltimore Orioles, but he will take the ball.
Also led the league in walks last year.
207th career start, 211th career appearance for Wade Miley. Well, he has been lights out in this ballpark for whatever reason, going back to his days as a Diamondback. A 4-0 record with an ERA at 2.5. There aren't a lot of guys that like pitching here, but Miley is very good here. And that's the third lowest ERA in Great American Ballpark history of any pitcher who started 5 or more games here. 2 out. And the Brewers on defense. Same outfield we've seen to start it each of the first 2 games. A day off for Travis Shaw. Scope goes over to second base. And Hernan Perez starts at short. He has been the best player probably in the league this week, Christian Yelich. He's certainly been the best in the league the last 2 days. Votto overall a .284 batter, just 9 home runs and 55 runs batted in. Votto has 24 doubles. His numbers will come nowhere close to where we have traditionally seen them by season's end. This injury certainly has something to do with it, but even prior to the injury, Votto has not had the kind of year that we've seen him in the past. Good on base percentage, but just not much in terms of extra base hit power.
It was something really that Joey Votto has been kind of warning people about over the last couple of years, how things are changing as he gets older. He has to change with it. I don't think that on base percentage is going anywhere, but certainly the power numbers, if if pitchers lose their fastball when they get older, why can't hitters do the same thing as they get older?
End of 1, no score. teams get together. 9 of them here last night, one shy of a single season game record. And the most home runs over the last 3 years. The Brewers and the Reds more than any other two teams when they get together. And you may have noticed third on that list, the Reds and the Cubs. That's a pile of home runs. It's over 300 home runs combined. Those three teams, but those series the last 3 years. I mean, think about that. You're playing 18, 19 times a year. 162. The Reds and the Brewers. Jonathan Scope, the batter, against Cody Reed. Scoreless game. One ball, 2 strikes.
Those home run numbers and the teams involved indicate a couple of things. Number one, you've got 2 pitching staffs that have been challenged over the years and lineups that have been, heavily power laden. And the other is that you've got 2 very good hitting ballparks where you can hit opposite field, just as Christian Yelich has proved last night.
First strikeout of the game by Reed, 1 out.
Good changeup. The changeup, actually, it may have been a slider. Looking at the spin right now, I mean, it was a little bit of a slider, I guess. Picking away at the outside corner. Boy, Reed just looks like he's a guy that has been able to dial the effort level down a couple of notches, and all of a sudden find his pitches, not only in the strike zone, but in certain quadrants of the strike zone.
First pitch fastball. The left-handed batting Mike Moustakas is high, ball 1.
Had a good night last night. Showed us for the first time hitting the ball the other way.
4-hit game last night. And Moustakas drove in 3 runs, including a home run in the 8th inning. Broken bat. Votto will feed Reed at the bag for the 2nd out. 5 straight retired by Cody since a leadoff walk to start the game. Hernan Perez, a shortstop. He's had a big time of it this year against the Reds. Big time numbers, even though this is just the 2nd time we have seen him start in the last 2 series anyway. The other time was in right field. In this series, 3 hits and 5 at bats. He's making his 58th start. You're talking about a guy that can play everywhere. Second base, third base, shortstop, left field, right field, even 1 game in center field for Hernan Perez. Even 3 games on the mound. 8 of the 9, the only position he has not played behind the plate. 1-2. Bouncer over the mound. Time here for Herrera. And the inning is over. Good play by Dielson in a 1-2-3 second. No score. Reds coming up. Weekly updates, roster updates, stats, and more. RBI Baseball 18 available now. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone. No score. Reds bat in the second inning. Phillip Ervin to be followed by Curt Casale playing behind the plate today, and then the second baseman Herrera. Wade Miley. Delivers low, ball one. Ervin. That on-base percentage up near 370. A 294 batter, 4 home runs, 24 batted in. Sharply hit, but Perez backs up on it, 1 out in the inning.
You know, Wade Miley doesn't really have the type of stuff that if he gets 2 strikes on you, you should start quaking with fear. No real put-away pitch. He's got 6 different pitches, which is really a variation of 2 that he has 3 different speeds on. But since the fact that he does sometimes really have control problems, the Reds really shouldn't be in a hurry to go up there hacking at the first pitch.
Casale looks at strike 1. Started at first base last night. Had another good night. 3 more hits. Scored a run. Knocked in a run. Softly hit to the left side. And Moustakas throws out Casale. 2 up, 2 down, and 5 straight retired by Wade Miley to start this game.
Well, the go-to pitch for Wade Miley, I mentioned it earlier, that if you want a definition of a cutter or a cut fastball, Miley will throw that. He'll throw it about 87, 88 miles an hour. And he'll just run that thing down in the zone. A lot of guys will throw that cutter inside to right-handers, away from left-handers. But Miley's cutter has a little bit of sink on it, so he'll get a certain amount of ground balls. You see 5 different pitches right there. I broke for the 6th pitch, you break it down into sinker fastball versus 4-seam fastball. Every time you watch him pitch, though, he reminds you, if you remember, if you're old enough to remember, Tom Browning. Very quick worker, right over the top, very kind of an abbreviated delivery, not a lot of leg drive. Makes it look simple.
6 up, 6 down, a pair of strikeouts for Miley.
Right, and pitch when I can, and when that phone rings and he calls my name. So I was definitely really excited, in Chicago when he called my name when bases were loaded and 1 out.
Right.
And this time last year or in 2016 that would have never happened. So just I think having him show that he has confidence in me makes it better for me and confidence for myself.
And Tommy, Chris, that was referring to that at bat against Anthony Rizzo with bases loaded, and Riggleman has the confidence now to turn to him in those type of situations. And to me, the biggest improvement he's made, he's grown confidence-wise, and I think he's really matured as a pitcher some.
He's looked very sharp here in his first start since April through the front 2 innings. You thought, oh boy, when you walked the first batter of the game, but since then he's retired 6 straight.
Really, as well as he pitched out of the bullpen, he has become Jim Riggleman's go-to guy as far as lefties out of the pen. Kind of ironic that you take the best lefty out of the pen, you put him in the starting rotation. But I think that down the road, I mean, the Reds have been looking for a left-handed starter for a long time. When they made the deal with Kansas City to pick up Reed and Finnegan and John Lamb, they thought certain that maybe 2 of those 3, if not 1 of those 3, would end up long-term in the rotation. John Lamb has moved on to the Athletics, where I think right now he's on the disabled list after a Tommy John surgery, and Brandon Finnegan's still down in AAA with the Louisville Bats.
And there's a walk to Kratz to start the 2nd inning, so 2 walks in this game given up by Reed through the first 8 batters. Wade Miley, a left-handed pitcher and a left-handed batter, and not a bad hitter. 4 hits and 17 at bats. He does not have a sacrifice. The Reds believe he's up there to bunt here.
Little butcher boy play there. Moved up in the batter's box, which is always a smart thing to do when you're going to be asked to lay down a bunt. But when he saw Dixon moving in from third base, pulled that bat back and thinking about slashing it by him. Watch him move in the box right here. I didn't do it as much that time.
Reed falls behind 2-0, and Casale will trot out for a quick visit. Coming up later on, we'll have our Hold True moment brought to you by Miller Lite. I know you're looking forward to that. Not much of an effort there by Miley. He fouls it away. 2 balls and a strike.
May have done him a favor by chasing ball 3.
Swings away and shoots it into center field, a base hit. That's his 5th hit in 18 at bats this year, and there are 2 on in the inning with none out.
You know, I really believe that butcher boy play makes a pitcher a much better hitter, because really all you're trying to do is just put the bat on the ball rather than trying to drive the ball. You're usually choking up a little bit. You take a much shorter swing because you've already been in bunt position. You pull it back, and now you're trying to make contact. He happens to punch it through the hole, and Reed now needs a ground ball in the worst way.
Lorenzo Cain walked leading off the first inning. No score. We're in the 3rd. 2 on and nobody out. Ball 1.
You know, if you watch Cody Reed's delivery and how he finishes almost straight standing up, it reminds me one time of what Tom Glavine told me that his dad used to yell at him when he was a young pitcher.
And he gets a double play. Nicely done by Brandon Dixon, ranging far to his left and playing third base, a position we don't see him play very often, and Herrera able to turn it over quickly.
Well, a good turn down there by Herrera. This is much needed right here. Not hit very hard at all. Dixon gets it. All you've got to do is feed the second baseman and let Herrera, who has a pretty strong arm, do the rest. But what Tom Glavine's father used to yell at him when he was a kid growing up is bend your back. Now, Tommy Glavine's father didn't know anything about pitching, but he watched Warren Spahn pitched, and he always realized that at the end of his delivery, Spahn would bend his back and follow through. So he figured it had to be a good thing. Well, it worked for Glavine. And maybe down the line it'll
we'll see Cody Reed following a little bit more, bending his back at the end of the delivery and kind of taking him in towards home plate, especially on that breaking ball.
Facing Yelich now, the best hitter in this Milwaukee lineup, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Yelich bounced out to Votto his first time up. Off Reed's body, and he's going to get the final out of the inning. A
Body
rocket
save
by Yelich.
Last night, that's Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen was sent up there to bunt, tried to pull back when the pitch was coming up and in. And that would have normally been strike 3, batter out on a foul ball bunted, right? But the umpires decided he wasn't attempting to bunt the ball. So after a little conversation with Craig Counsell, the Brewers manager, we're going to take a look at what the rule says. And of course, we know that a batter's out when he fouls off an attempted bunt after he has 2 strikes on him. But the question is, what is an attempted bunt? And the main thing is when you intentionally meet the bat and the ball and try to lay the ball down softly in the infield. So the home plate umpire last night, who is now at third base, Tony Randazzo, immediately called the fact that he was trying to get out of the way of the pitch and the ball accidentally hit the bunt. There was no intention on the part of Michael Lorenzen, and therefore it was a foul ball and not a strike 3 as an attempted bunt. And, you know, the weird thing is about that play is that we've probably seen it 20 times before, and every time it's been called strike 3. But it was so obvious last night that he was just basically trying to get out of the way of the pitch. Now, the other odd thing would be is that, say the ball hit the bat and it went into fair territory, it would still be a bunt. So I went down to talk to the umpires today, and they're convinced, as in many other crews. I got contacted by a couple of different major league umpires this morning after they saw that play, and convinced that the umpire crew got it right last night. So really, all you want to have in a situation like that is that when finally, and all the smoke clears and the controversy dies down a little bit, you use it as a learning experience for your players, your fans, and everybody involved, so that if it ever happens again, you can call on it.
Well, pop up to Aguilar off the bat of Dixon, and that's the way things start here in the Reds' third of a scoreless game.
You know, the other thing about that bunt, and we mentioned it a couple of times, and the umpires actually mentioned it to me, is that when Michael Lorenzen bunts, he wraps his pitching hand, his right hand, around the barrel of the bat. And that's one of the things that umpires always have to be aware of, because if your hand gets hit, even if it's on the barrel, you're hit by pitch. Now, in that case last night it didn't happen, but he certainly puts himself in danger when he doesn't slide up his hand and keep his hand on the backside of the bat rather than wrapping his fingers around.
Strike one on Mason Williams, getting a start out in center field today. 282 batter, a home run, 5 knocked in, and Miley throwing a lot of strikes, jumps in front. 19 strikes against just 6 balls so far for Wade Miley.
This is like a new and improved Wade Miley. He used to throw a little bit harder. He used to get a few more strikeouts, but now, I mean, he's just worried about the pace of the game and flipping those pitches in there.
Pull to the right side, and the big fella will wave off Miley. And that's 8 straight retired by the Milwaukee left-hander. And now he'll turn his attention to the left-handed batting and left-handed pitching, Cody Reed. Nothing at 2. Reed 0 for 4 as a batter so far this season. And the inning is over. 9 up, 9 down. 3 strikeouts for Miley. We go to the 4th in a scoreless game.
A man has to have goals for a day, for a lifetime. And that was mine. To have people say, there goes Ted Williams, the greatest hitter who ever lived.
Well, if you had written it that way, nobody would believe it, so I even tried.
August 30th of 1918 was Ted Williams born. 19 major league seasons, all with the Red Sox. Look at the numbers. 344, 521, at 406 and 41. By the way, did not win the MVP that year. 6-time AL batting champion, 19-time All-Star. And just think what his numbers would have been if he was not a fighter pilot in World War II in Korea when he missed almost 5 complete seasons. Gentlemen, all across the Fox networks, we celebrate his 100th birthday today.
Indeed we do, and I think it's safe to say that you would get very little argument from anyone as to Williams being the greatest hitter in the history of Major League Baseball. When you combine the batting average, the home runs, the doubles, the runs batted in, the on-base percentage, the slugging percentage. Extraordinary. Aguilar to lead things off here in the top of the 4th inning. Scoreless game.
Of course, it might also be said that Ted Williams was one of the first players ever having to deal with the defensive shift.
Tell you what, Cody Reed's got a bullseye on him.
Well, that one he caught. And he's hurting a little bit on this one, I think. The other one got him in the backside. Hopefully he's okay out there. No trainer coming out. The umpire wants to make sure he's all right or give him a new baseball. You know, the amazing thing about that 1941 season, that was a year you may remember Joe DiMaggio set the all-time record with a 56-game hitting streak that year. During that 56-game hitting streak time frame, Williams actually had a higher batting average, believe it or not, than Joe DiMaggio did. DiMaggio hit 408 total during that time frame. Williams hit 412 over the same amount of time. Williams had nearly 100 points higher in his on-base percentage and just slightly lower in the slugging percentage. But as Pick mentioned, it was DiMaggio who wound up being the most valuable player and not Williams, despite hitting over 400 that year. Knocked down by Dixon, plenty of time. 2 down in the inning. Ball 1 on the second baseman today, Jonathan Scope. He struck out his first time up. Been some hard hit balls here the last couple of innings that were outs against Cody Reed, 2 of them against his body. But the only ball that has left the infield against Reed today, strangely enough, was a single into center by Wade Miley. And it'll stay that way on this ground ball to the shortstop. And the inning is over. Still no score after 3.5. game on the field between the Reds and the Padres, and you can be here for as low as $12. The game starts at 4:10. The concert right after. Log on to Reds.com.
Well, what Miley seems to be doing here is with cutters, the right-handers and left-handers are getting a lot of curveballs. He's found his good release point on the curveball, just flipping it up there about 72 miles an hour. Threw 3 in a row to Mason Williams to induce a ground ball.
Schebler a fly ball to center field on the very first pitch thrown by Miley in the game. And that has been by far the most solidly hit ball against Cody Reed in this game, or against Wade Miley, I beg your pardon. Reed pitching beautifully as well. Reds in search of their first base runner against this left-hander. And they have it now as it's hooked down the right field line into the corner. And this will be a 2-base hit for Scott Schebler.
The Reds put Schebler at the top of the lineup in hopes to kind of get his bat going a little bit. Gets a pitch 89 miles an hour. Looked like it was a little bit of a cut fastball maybe going away from him.
Now Peraza. Scoreless game, a leadoff double here in the Cincinnati 4th inning. And Peraza drops a bunt foul.
It's the first ball into the outfield really by either team except for that bouncer up the middle by Wade Miley.
A double by Schebler breaks an 0 for 17 personal streak. Two balls and 2 strikes on Jose Peraza. Short hop pickup by Moustakas, and that will not advance a runner. So Schebler stays at second base, 1 out in the inning. If a Red hits a home run off the Toyota sign today, Joseph Hauer of Cincinnati will win that new Tundra out in left center field thanks to your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. 1 out, 1 on, and that'll bring up Joey Votto. Struck out his first time up.
Well, Moustakas makes a nice play on that ball. A little short hop that he kind of had to bring up to his body. He made a nice play on the last out of the ball game last night off of Suarez. Picking it clean down there.
Runner in scoring position at second base. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Votto, and it's on the ground to Aguilar. On to third goes Schebler, and there are 2 outs. Votto hitless in 2 at-bats. His return to the lineup from the disabled list prior to the game.
Both these pitchers doing a good job of keeping the ball down and consequently getting a lot of ground balls. Urban was really the author of the hardest hit ball the Reds have had. I mean, you could say that maybe would be the double down the line by Schebler, but I think the ground ball one hopper that he hit to Perez in the second inning was a real hot shot.
And a comebacker to the mound, and the Reds get a leadoff double. The Rander gets stranded at third base to Schebler. No score at the end of 4. By U.S. News and World Report. Baseball during the daytime, and the Bengals wrap up their preseason tonight. Just down Mering Way at Paul Brown Stadium. Sun trying to break through what has been a cloudy morning, but temperatures are perfect. Very low humidity and low temperatures for this Thursday afternoon. The Reds just in for the 3 games and hit the road, going to St. Louis, followed by a series in Pittsburgh. They'll start at Busch Stadium tomorrow night. Cody Reed to face Moustakas, and a base hit into center field to begin the 5th.
Well, for everything that Mike Moustakas did not do when the Reds were in Milwaukee, he's doing here in Cincinnati. Hitting the ball out of the ballpark, hitting the ball the other way, centering up the baseball, which he did very little of on that 3-game series at Miller Park.
That brings Perez to the plate, shows bunt, pulls the bat away, and strike 1. Reed has allowed 2 hits. He's walked 2. He struck out 1. This will be another base hit, and the first 2 aboard, as they were to begin the 3rd inning before Reed got a big double play. He does have the number 8 hitter coming up, Kratz, but Reed walked him his first time.
Yeah, the last time Reed had first couple of guys on base, he rolled over a ground ball and got a double play to be turned 5-4-3. Get one of those right here might be an easy way out of the inning with the pitcher in the on deck circle. Miley and Counsell over there in the on deck circle having kind of an ongoing conversation of, you know, what if, I think, what happens when Miley comes to the dish. I mean, given the way this energy of this game is compared to last night, it was total offense. Today, total pitching, total defense, only 4 hits in the ball game by both teams through 4 innings. You know, if they get a runner over, would Miley be asked to suicide squeeze?
Strikes out Kratz for the first out in the inning. Second strikeout in the game for Cody Reed.
That's a good slider right here. Nice tilt. Looks like a fastball. Drops down below the hitting zone.
Well, let's see what they ask Miley to do. He is clearly a better hitter than he is a bunter. He has 5 hits on the year. He does not have a single sacrifice. And he pushes that one foul. He had a base hit in the center field his first time up. Strike 2.
Well, if you're Cody Reed right here, you've got to be going for a strikeout. Make him chase a pitch out of the zone, maybe come up and in with one, then drop a slider on him. But the last thing you want is to give him a sacrifice here when you're in command of the strike count.
And that's strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts after back-to-back singles here in the Brewers' 5th inning. That'll bring up Lorenzo Cain.
Cody Reed is from Horn Lake, Mississippi, which is about 15-20 miles south of Memphis. Went to Horn Lake High School. One of the big parts of that little suburbia is that they have the Elvis Ranch there.
Slow roller. Reed off the tip of his glove. Not sure anybody throws out Cain there, even Brandon Dixon. So the bases are loaded for you know who. Christian Yelich.
Well, Reed certainly doesn't get him right here. He's got to come way too far towards the line to be able to set himself and throw. Dixon may have been able to make the play. You just really never know. But one of those no man land choppers that ends up loading the bases now.
Reed has retired Yelich in each of his first 2 times up. A bouncing ball to Votto in the first inning, then a line drive that hit Reed in the derriere. Dropped right down by his feet, and he was able to throw out Yelich, stranding 2 in the 3rd inning. Ball 1.
Still have to attack Yelich right here. Don't pitch him timidly and get yourself into a hitter's count.
2 balls and no strikes on Yelich with the bases loaded. And another breaking ball. Not even close to the strike zone. 3 balls and no strikes.
I'm assuming that Yelich is swinging the bat right here, 3-0.
He doesn't need to. It's a 4-pitch walk to bring in the game's first run.
Well, part strategy, part pep talk, I think, with this meeting. No, they're actually going to bring in go to the bullpen right here.
So the Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Reed leaves after 4 2/3 innings. Walks in the game's first run. Michael Lorenzen will come on to face Aguilar when we come back. Couple of singles, a third single after 2 were out, and a bases loaded walk to Christian Yelich. So Reed's day is over, and now it'll be Michael Lorenzen.
Michael was in last night's ball game. Of course, he followed that foul ball bunt with a 3-run home run, and it would really electrified this place. He came in last night, also pitched an inning, gave up a couple of runs, a couple of earned runs, 3 runs overall. Reds are a little short in the bullpen here today.
In there, a strike.
Although they did bring up Austin Bryce, he's available. He came up when Robert Stevenson was on the disabled list.
Lorenzen will get the job done on the pop fly to center field. So the Brewers leave the bases loaded. They lead 1-0 after 4½. The next one September the 7th when the Reds take on the Padres. Post-game fireworks show presented by Mercedes-Benz of Westchester and Cincinnati. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Reds down 1-0. Casale, Herrera, Dixon against Wade Miley. Reds have one hit in the game so far. Miley has not walked a batter. He struck out 3. Got Casale on a ground ball to third. His first time up. Brewers picking up a game on the Chicago Cubs with their victory here last night. Cubs losing to the Mets, so the Brewers are 5 back. St. Louis lost last night, so the Brewers are a half game behind the Cardinals. But they are the top 2 teams in the wild card. 1 game better than Colorado, game and a half better than the Dodgers, 2.5 better than Philadelphia. Strike 3 called, and that's 4 strikeouts for Miley, 1 out in the 5th.
Boy, he is just painting the bottom part of that strike zone. I mean, he's taking control of the pace of the game too. The Reds are kind of ready to go when he's in there, and he's just getting that ball and going. A little bit of a slider right there, down and in. Had Casale out in front last time on a changeup.
That'll bring up Dielson Herrera. He struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. Three balls and a strike. And it's popped up. This will be the second out of the inning. Easy for Scope, the second baseman. College football season underway, and following Reds Live today, you can check out Bearcats Insider. In case you missed it, we'll preview not only Saturday's season opener at UCLA, but talk to Coach Luke Fickell about what's in store for the whole season. Bearcats Insider Dan Hort and Tony Pike later today, immediately following Reds Live, the post game here on Fox Sports Ohio, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. 2 down for Brandon Dixon, ball 1. Lined into right, and the inning is over. Reds gone 1, 2, 3. We're off to the 6th, where the Brewers lead this one 1-0. All about pitching here today, and both the starters were very good. Although Reed is taken out after 4 2/3, and Miley's cruising right along, working on a one-hitter. There you see the starters comparison. Reed out of the game, gave way to Michael Lorenzen, who got a pop-up of Aguilar to leave the bases loaded. And there's a tapper to the right side, and Ryan Braun retired to begin the 6th inning.
And really the only difference between the two starters, the 3 walks given up by Reed, including one with the bases loaded, and Reds are trying to figure out a way to get that run back.
Here's Scope, who was struck out and grounded out to the shortstop, Jose Peraza. Abbreviated schedule in the National League. The Pirates will play in Pittsburgh to wrap up that series tonight before the Reds come in, and the Cubs open a 4-game series. Or that's a 1-game makeup, I beg your pardon. They'll be traveling down to Atlanta to take on the Braves. There's a fly ball to center field for the 2nd out of the inning. Cubs will then go to Philadelphia. That's not an easy trip. Play 1 game against the Braves and then go in to play the Phillies starting tomorrow night. Philadelphia's been unconscious at home this season. 42 wins against 24 losses. Only the Cubs have been better at home among all National League teams. 0-1 to Moustakas. That'll end the inning on a strikeout of Moustakas. 1, 2, 3 for Lorenzen. Still a 1-0 Milwaukee lead.
Including that he writes everything down in a journal, and today that he drinks milk at every restaurant he goes to, and his teammates won't let him live it down.
I'm getting laughs all over the clubhouse right now, and it's pretty similar type of reaction from the server. They kind of laugh at me at first. They're like, is there a kid here or something? But no, it's for me.
Guys, I'd say milk was a bad choice.
That's why Jared's so fit and why Shannon's so fit, drinking all that milk. Of course, Jim Harbaugh, the football coach at Michigan, is the guy that talks about that seemingly every day. says you can't drink 1%, you can't drink 2%, you got to drink whole milk every day. And of course that reference had to do with Ron Burgundy and the movie Anchorman. Mason Williams to lead things off. The Reds are trailing 1-0. Wade Miley's allowed 1 base hit. That was a double to Scott Schebler leading off the 4th inning. Until now, a single by Williams to start the 6th.
Well, there's only so many curveballs you're going to fool me with, says Mason Williams. It was 3 in a row the first time up. He finally hit a little weak ground ball out. This time he gets a curveball and waits back nicely and gets it into center field.
So Michael Lorenzen will now bat.
It's one of those pitches where if you're going to hit it out of the ballpark, you're supplying your own power.
Lorenzen has 4 home runs this year, 2 home runs as a pitcher, 2 home runs as a pinch hitter, including the pinch hit grand slam against Milwaukee earlier this year. Of course, he had a home run last night. 3 of the 4 home runs have come against the Brewers. He's trying to become the first player in the live ball era to produce at least 4 home runs in a season without starting a single game, not on the mound or as a position player.
Well, here's a number that'll put it all in perspective for Michael Lorenzen. Michael, right now with 4 home runs, has as many home runs as Jay Bruce. And Jay Bruce has 256 plate appearances. He's been injured a lot this year, Bruce has. But numbers are numbers.
Ball and 1 strike on Lorenzen. No sign of a bunt in this at bat after a leadoff single by Williams. 2-1. Looking down there to Billy Hatcher just to make sure. Hatcher had his back turned to Lorenzen.
That's a hit away sign.
And he does, and that's a broken bat that should be a double play, and it is. 2 down in the inning. Oh, they say he beat it out. Wow, Aguilar can't believe it. He's looking in the dugout.
Well, he can get down the line, Lorenzen. I mean, he might be the 3rd fastest player in this ball club.
Well, I'm sure they're going to challenge this. I don't think there's any doubt about it after seeing that replay. Yep.
Now, before they challenge and do what the Brewers asked them to do, the crew chief Bill Welke is going to go over to the Reds side and say, do you want us to take a look at the play at second base? Because that's just the priority of the way things happen. So while they have him on the horn there in New York, if Jim Riggleman said, yeah, go ahead and challenge that, we're not sure if it was close enough at second base or not. He probably did not do that, so they're probably only taking a look at the play at first base with Lorenzen. I thought that was an interesting twist to how the official replay review works from an umpire's perspective.
And the call is out. It is a double play. So for all the screaming and yelling, and there's a lot of it, there's a lot of noise out there, whether it's on the internet or whether it's on talk radio. You know, what you've seen here in the last roughly 12 hours would be an argument why you don't bunt, and another argument of maybe why you should bunt. Not to say one way's right or one way's wrong. They asked Lorenzen last night to bunt. He failed to do it. He caught a break on the foul ball. I think, at least from the eye standpoint, everybody here thought it was a strike 3 bunt attempt. But they get to 2 strikes. Lorenzen hits a home run. This time they let him swing away. He bounces into a double play.
Could be the difference between a hanging slider and a good pitch by the pitcher.
Shebler doubled his last time up after a fly ball to deep left center field his first time up. He's had 2 good swings against Wade Miley in the game today. Hopefully Nick Marley's okay there. See where it got him. Would you think there was a time they didn't have that throat protector? Still got him. One ball and 2 strikes to Shebler. Reds down 1-0. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Two balls, 2 strikes. Miley turns it loose, and he, along with his entire infield, was on its way to the dugout, thinking that should have been strike 3 called. It was not. Wow.
Well, pitch number 6, our Fox track shows it inside, but it certainly looked good.
Try the same pitch again, looking for a different result. Instead, it's ball 4. It's a first walk given up by Miley, so Peraza will bat. With the runner at first and 2 outs. Peraza today 0 for 2. Has popped up to Aguilar and grounded to the third baseman, Moustakas. Breaking ball is low to Peraza, ball 1. Jose with 9 home runs and 44 runs batted in. He had 4 hits in the series opener, scored 4 runs, including a 2-run home run, his very first at bat in this series, and they shut him down last night. He went 0 for 5. Little number by the mound, and this will be all for the Reds. 1-0 Milwaukee. We go to the 7th. After each and every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. That'll be following the game here today. 1-0 at the end of 6. 1 run, 4 hits, 5 left for the Brewers. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left for the Reds. Michael Lorenzen has retired all 4 batters he's faced. And now he'll face Hernan Perez to begin the Brewers' 7th. And a first pitch in there, a fastball, strike 1. Wandy Peralta's getting loose in the Cincinnati bullpen. We have a ladder third in the batting order here. That's the 3rd time a Reds pitcher's been hit by a line drive today, and all 3 times have turned into outs. Reed twice, caught one of them, the other bounced off his backside, and now this. There's no way Lorenzen's coming out of a game.
And all of them line drives, too. None of them were short hoppers off the ground. He gets his leg up in time, Lorenzen does, is able to find the ball and throw the runner out. That one got him on just above the knee on the outside of the right leg.
I mean, Jim Riggleman just turns around. He knows who's he dealing with here. I mean, there's just no way of any player on this Reds team. If there's one guy that's not coming out of a game, it's Lorenzen. This is one tough cat. Now, having said all that, we'll find out if that has anything to do with his effectiveness moving ahead as he faces Kratz, a catcher, in a first pitch fastball at 94, strike 1.
He sure looks nice and easy here this afternoon.
'96 outside corner, knee high. 0-2. Pitcher Miley is due up next, and the way he's going today, you certainly would expect in the 7th inning for him to bat. And that's all for Kratz. That's good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Back-to-back 96-mile-per-hour fastballs. After getting hit on a line drive, he went 94, 96, 96. Good night. Miley, a single and a strikeout. Strike 1. And that's all for the Brewers. Lorenzen 7 straight. 8 pitches in the inning. How about that?
celebrating throughout baseball. Proof that legends never die, Joey Votto carries 2 keys of Ted Williams into every game.
His book, 2 of the keys that I make a point to really remind myself about are get a good pitch to hit and be quick. Because he was so efficient and he got walks so often, his on-base percentage was up around 500 for his entire career. So whenever anybody says, you know, the best a hitter can do to get to the Hall of Fame is 3 out of 10, I always reference, you know, no, we can beat that. It's been done before.
And it will be naturally Joey Votto after Shannon gives us that insight to lead things off. With the Reds down 1-0 here in the 7th inning, Votto in his return from a disabled list is struck out looking and grounded out to Aguilar, be followed by Urban and Casale. No Suarez today, had back spasms just before the game. Scooter Gennett was given a day off anyway today. They had Brandon Dixon originally in the lineup at second base. 77 pitches thrown in this game by Wade Miley as we open this 7th inning.
And all of them looking very hittable. That's been part of the problems. I mean, Miley's another guy, maybe evidence number 1A after Kyle Hendricks did the same type of thing to the Reds in Chicago. Topping out about 88 miles an hour. Not a whole lot of solid contact then, and not a lot of solid contact today against Miley.
Phillip Ervin hit the ball sharply right at the shortstop. A one-top hopper his first time up, and then a bouncer back to the mound, ending the 4th inning, leaving a runner in scoring position. Reds got a double in that 4th inning to start the inning. Schebler wound up being stranded after that double at third base. Reds have only left 2 on in the entire game against Miley. They only have 2 hits, and he's walked just 1. Line drive right center field, and Urban has the third Cincinnati hit, his first today.
Kind of interesting, really, the first time I've seen all day long that Wade Miley kind of came out of what his strategy's been all day, which is change speeds, keep the ball down, move in and out. That time Eric Kratz wanted the ball up. You see him standing right there, and up does not mean waist high, and Urban puts a good swing on it.
Casale is grounded to Moustakas, the third baseman, and was called out on strikes in the 5th. Breaking ball in there, strike 1.
That one 85 miles an hour. You know, this is kind of reminds me of a Bronson Arroyo game where Arroyo would throw, you know, between the pitch speeds of say 67, 68 miles an hour all the way up to 90, 91. And Miley's doing the same thing here today. Anything from 70 to 90 with a stop along at every mile per hour. Here's the speed range.
On swinging Casale, and that will be 5 of those today for Wade Miley. 2 outs in the 7th, and Nielsen Herrera coming up.
Now they went with the changeup on a 1-2 count and deadens it just enough.
Irvin has 4 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 1 time. Miley has one of the better moves, pickoff moves in all of baseball through his career. He has picked off 27 base runners. Now, none this year, but he hadn't pitched a lot this year.
He's very quick. I mean, his throw over is quick. He's got a good quick release over to first base. He's not just picking you off if you happen to be stealing on that pitch.
Hooked into left field by Herrera. This ball will go to the wall. Irvin on his way to third. Billy Hatcher's going to wave him around. Here's a throw by Perez. One hopper to the plate. Collision at the plate. And the runner is called safe. It's a 1-1 game. Irvin went sliding in and took the legs right out from underneath the Kratz. Sure, the Brewers are going to want to look at this. But for the time being, Dielson Herrera makes it a 1-1 game, and the Milwaukee manager says, look at it.
We'll start with the swing right here. Line down the left field line. This is a great job by the Brewers of hitting the cutoff man and then coming right to the plate with it. A one hopper right there. Took a little bit into foul territory, and that opened the spot for Irvin to find the inside part of the home plate base. Nick Marley right on top of the call.
Brewers are walking off the field. They think they're going to get this call. Or at least Miley started to, along with Aguilar.
Well, that's a hard one to call right there, because it looks like Irvin's knee is what was the leading edge here. This is one of those reviews that may take a while, because it is that close. Seems like it's been one of these series between the Reds and the Brewers right here that have been just one official replay review after another.
So it's a run scoring double for Dielson Herrera, and we're tied at 1. And now the Reds have the go-ahead run in scoring position for Brandon Dixon. 2 outs in the inning. And Herrera the double up the left field line, plating Irvin all the way from first base. Grounded foul. Dixon hit a long home run here last night, the 3rd of his major league career. That came off Jeremy Jeffress.
That made it a 1-run game in the extra innings there. Jumped on the first pitch he saw.
Little cue shot off the end of the bat. There was a home run here last night. The Brewers scored 2 runs, you may remember, in the top of that 10th inning, or maybe you were already in bed. It was a very long night. Started 30 minutes late, 4-hour plus game. 0-2 on Brandon Dixon. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Who could go to the bed in the middle of that game? That was a wild, woolly one. One of the more unusual games you'll ever see. If you had 4 hours to kill, why not?
1 ball, 2 strikes, and struck him out to end the inning. But the Reds tie the game. They get a single by Irvin, a big 2-out double by Herrera. 1-1 as we go to the 8th. As low as $12, and thanks to Queen City Sausage, the first 20,000 fans receive a Joe Morgan replica statue. Tickets available at Reds.com. So the Reds tie the game on the double by Herrera, and we're set to begin the 8th inning in a 1-1 affair. Sal Romano on to pitch.
Well, Romano now working exclusively out of the bullpen after having 24 starts earlier in the year. He did have a couple of bullpen appearances while he was starting. When the Reds were in that 6-man rotation, you factor in an off day, and all of a sudden you're pitching once a week, and it gave those guys, especially Romano, a chance to get his bullpen work in live action.
Top of the order will be Kane, Yelich, and then Aguilar.
Want to send out a birthday wish today, Tom, to my daughter Carrie, my oldest daughter. August 30th. Happy birthday, Carrie. Residing up in Milwaukee Brewer land, up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Happy birthday.
Love you very much.
Indeed.
Carrie.
Romano did an excellent job here last night. He came in with runners at first and third and nobody out. Brewers had already scored 3 runs. He induced a ground ball off the bat of Scope to the third baseman. Suarez threw out the runner at third trying to score. Then he got another ground ball out and a strikeout in a perfect 1 inning of work. Kane has been on twice, a walk. He's bounced into a double play at an infield hit in front of the bases loaded walk to Yelich for the Brewers' only run, and there's a swing and a miss, and that's the way it starts in the Brewers' 8th inning. Romano with a strikeout.
Romano really using that downward plane right there. That's the slider. You see it's got downward break because he comes right over the top with it. Some pitchers will throw a slider that'll go across the plate more horizontal than right straight down, but using that big frame of his to drive it down towards the dirt.
Yelich 0 for 2, but does have an RBI. Cody Reed never gave himself a chance against Yelich with the bases loaded in the 5th inning. There were 2 outs in the inning. He walked him on 4 straight pitches, and none of the 4 was anywhere close to the strike zone. And that was the final batter that Reed would face in this game. He only allowed 4 hits and a run. He did walk 3 batters and struck out 3. But certainly through throwing the ball well here today, a very disappointing final at bat for Cody Reed. Diving play by Votto from his knee, a nice feed and a nice catch made by the big man Romano. Well done on both ends there.
Well, Herrera, the second baseman, does not get to this ball, so it's all got to be Votto right here as he goes backhand, and then it somehow sets himself to be able to throw the ball with something on it to Romano. Really good play. You know, I look at it again, and maybe Dilson Herrera does get to it, but it was one of those where Votto had to take it because he wasn't sure if Herrera could get there or not. Key out in a 1-run game or a 1-1 game.
So now Aguilar with 2 down and nobody on. 0-1. Aguilar is bounced to second. Hit a line drive right back to the mound that was caught by Cody Reed in the 4th, and then he popped up to center, leaving the bases loaded against Lorenzen in the 5th inning. Hooks this one foul and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike on Aguilar, who has 30 home runs and 92 runs batted in. Lorenzen, an outstanding job of relief today. The best really we've seen him look in quite some time. Very impressive. 2 1/3 innings. Does not allow a hit, does not allow a base runner. He retired all 7 batters he faced, 3 of them on strikes. Three and 1 to Aguilar. Three balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs in a 1-1 game in the 8th inning, and Romano to the plate, and he issues a 2-out walk that'll keep the inning alive for Ryan Braun. 4th walk given up by Reds pitching in the game today. The other 3 by the starter Reed. Braun is 0 for 3, a pair of ground ball outs to the 3rd baseman Brandon Dixon, and then grounded out sharply to Votto his last time up. Each team with a run, each team with 4 hits. The Brewers have stranded 5, the Reds have left 3. The Milwaukee starter is technically still in the game. Wade Miley gave up a run in the Reds' 7th inning on the 2-out double by Dilson Herrera, and it's 0-2 now on 1-1 rather on Ryan Braun. 2 outs in the inning. Beat him with a fastball there, and Braun behind. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A couple of National League All-Stars there, Votto and Aguilar. Aguilar originally was not chosen for the team and won the fan vote by a ton. Aguilar defeating Brandon Belt, big market San Francisco. Matt Carpenter of the Cardinals, you know about them, and Max Muncy from LA, and Trey Turner from Washington. Ball gets away, and big fella's cruising down to second, throw down there, and he is in there safely.
Boy, it's almost like somebody slowed the tape down on that particular play, wasn't it? Ball got away from Casale, but nobody even realized it, especially Aguilar. Just kind of slipped right by him between his arm and his body. He was looking for the ball, and now they're yelling out of the Brewer dugout, go, go, go. Aguilar's not really sure what to do. He finally goes, but even with that head start, very close at second base. And they're going to ask for a review. This has been Review Central. Might want to tell the folks at MLB the rent is a lot cheaper here in Cincinnati.
Now there's a call at second base. That's a big call. So Aguilar really asleep at the wheel there. He's caught stealing. And the Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th in a 1-1 game.
St. Clair Roofing will get you set up for that day's matchup tomorrow in St. Louis. Homer Bailey and Austin Gomber go at it 8:15, so that means we come to you at 7:30 Eastern, Tom.
All right, Pick, look forward to that tomorrow night from Busch Stadium. Opening game of the weekend series. And the Cardinals, I'm sure they'll be jam-packed in there over the weekend, right there on the heels of the Cubs. A wild card leader over these Brewers. Or at least going into play today. That could change by day's end. 1-1, the Reds bat in the bottom of the 8th inning. Mason Williams in the pitcher spot. Looks like Billy Hamilton is standing in the on-deck circle. Just coming out of the dugout. And then you have Scott Schebler. Williams has bounced to first and singled. And this ball driven hard down the left field line. It is a foul ball. Too bad for Williams and the Reds. That would have been a good way to get it started here in the 8th.
Well, as beat up as the Milwaukee bullpen has been, Wade Miley has given them exactly what they have needed here this afternoon.
Wade Miley is one guy not intimidated by pitching in his ballpark. We mentioned earlier in his 5 career starts here, a 4-0 record with an ERA at 2.51. That's come down so far today.
His pace is so fast, he appears like he wants to get it over as quick as possible.
Last time he pitched into the 8th inning was also here at Great American Ballpark in April of last year for Baltimore. 8 innings of 2-hit 1-run baseball. He punched out 11 on that day. 2-2 to Mason Williams. Reds have Jared Hughes throwing in their bullpen, which might lead one to believe that if the Reds take the lead, he will be the one who closes the game today. Iglesias has pitched the last number of days, and he was hung with the loss here last night. Gave up the home run to, or actually it was Stevens who gave up. He came on to get the final 3 outs. Stevens did give up a run, but it was a tie-breaking home run given up by Iglesias to Aguilar. So Iglesias got the loss here last night. Looped into short left field, and Braun is there, 1 out. Billy Hamilton, a leadoff home run last night. StatCast AI powered by AWS. Some of the numbers on the home run. Well, meeting on the mound, pitcher, catcher, third and first. Craig Counsell just standing there with his foot up on the railing. He's not making any move here as Billy Hamilton is announced as a pinch hitter. Hamilton jerks one down the left field line. He has homered again. Or is it foul? Oh my, so close from where we sit. That looked like that may have stayed fair, but no argument from anybody. Let's take a look. Yep, no doubt about it. Foul ball. Well, he jumped all over that pitch. Wow. Brewers have action in their bullpen. The right-hander Jordan Lyles and the left-hander Dan Jennings. Bear in mind the Reds have Scooter Gennett available off their bench today. Another foul ball. One and two the count on Billy Hamilton. Tough pitch to handle right there, but he does foul it off. And that's a base hit down the line. This will be extra bases for Billy. Firing back in is Yelich, but Hamilton off the bench with a one-out double. He represents a go-ahead run.
Really a good at bat for Billy. It just seemed like he was seeing every pitch up there by Wade Miley. Miley gets his ball up, and Hamilton just kind of tomahawks it down the right field line.
So that's going to do it for Wade Miley. He pitched one heck of a game here today. He goes 7 1/3 innings. So far only charged with the 1 run that came in the Reds' 7th inning. He surrenders 5 base hits. He walks 1 and strikes out 6. So they're going to bring in the left-hander Jennings to face Shepler. Back in a moment. Follow along at Fox Sports OH. Left-hander Dan Jennings comes on to pitch. The Reds have the go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 8th inning of a 1-1 game at second base with 1 out. The left-hander Jennings replacing the southpaw Miley, who pitched an outstanding game here today.
He could be the loser, however, if Billy Hamilton comes around to score and the Reds are able to hang on. Jennings pitched an inning on Tuesday, walked a couple of batters, gave up a run. Although since the All-Star break, he's been very effective for the Brewers.
Last night we had 25 runs scored, 36 hits so far today, a total of 9 hits and 2 runs, 1 on each side. Hamilton has had a very nice series. He did not start today, started the first 2 games. 7 hits in this series in 11 at bats. A double, a home run, has scored 4 times. Jennings will run right at Hamilton. Billy trying to get the runner to take off, and Billy is tagged out. Schebler advances on to second base, 2 away.
Hamilton, even getting caught in that rundown, did a nice job in staying alive long enough in order to let Schebler get the second base. So really not a whole lot lost right there by the Reds. Although Jennings may have hurt himself there, maybe pulled a leg muscle as he tried to get out of the way of Billy Hamilton in this rundown. Nearly was obstructing Hamilton in this. He does the right thing by running right at the runner. And then when he dishes the ball off, look, he almost gets in the way of Billy Hamilton right there. And that's really where Hamilton could have taken a step towards Jennings and maybe gotten an obstruction call. Saw the same thing the other night with Billy. They're going to help Jennings off the field. Maybe he twisted his knee.
Certainly hope he's going to be all right. Jordan Lyles will come on from the bullpen. He was up getting ready anyway. So Jennings faces one batter and gets an out. And we'll take a break. Back with more in a minute. The Let's Go places by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Ram, the no comparison event at your Ram dealer. Don't miss the great deals on Ram today. Lyles went 2 2/3 innings of one-hit shutout baseball. He walked 2 batters here in the opening game of the series in relief of Junior Guerra. He is on to face Peraza with a go-ahead run. Schebler out at second base. In their strike. Peraza for 3 in a game.
Not the kind of situation they expected to use Jordan Lyles in when they acquired him. Back when he threw that scoreless inning against the Reds a couple of days ago, it's the first time in 5 outings that he kept the opponent off the scoreboard.
Fly ball to left, and the Reds will watch Braun run it down at the track. And we're off to the 9th, tied at 1.
Williams hits this walk-off single, scoring Brandon Phillips in a game versus Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman and the Milwaukee Brewers. During the playoff run of 2010, this win put the Reds up 6 games over the Cardinals with just 1 month left to play. That was a good old days, Tommy.
Oh, you got that right. Really wasn't all that long ago, but boy, it sure seems like it. Billy Hamilton stays in the game to play center field, pushing Mason Williams over into right. And now taking over on the mound is Jared Hughes. Hughes has not pitched well against his former team this year. Now, he threw the ball better last night, worked a scoreless inning, but in the first night of this series, 1/3, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 runs. He gave up a walk to the first batter he faced, Lorenzo Cain, and then a 3-run home run to Christian Yelich. Braun to lead it off. 1-1 game in the 9th. 1 ball, 1 strike. This is the only team that Hughes has struggled with all year long in the entire league. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes on Ryan Braun, to be followed by Scope and then Moustakas. Corbin Burns is warming up in the Milwaukee bullpen, a right-hander. And now they're going to get action right next to him.
Looks like Soria.
Two and 2 to Ryan Braun. 1 run, 4 hits, 5 left on base for Milwaukee. 1 run, 5 hits, 4 left for the Reds. Braun hitless, 3 ground ball outs. 3 and 2.
Now the slider really for show for Jared Hughes. The sinker is what he gets the work done with. And I think Ryan Braun knows that. Brewers this year have hit 346 off of Hughes. And there's the sinker. It's a dangerous count because you have to elevate it enough to make sure that you make it look like a strike when it leaves your hand. See him working right over the top of it, kind of pronating his hand.
Now Scope. Ball 1. 2 balls and 2 strikes after the swing and a miss by Scope. Scope another hitless game. He has struggled and struggled mightily since being dealt from Baltimore to the Brewers. A batting average barely above 200. But we do know he's got some pop in that bat. He might only have 3 home runs since joining the Brewers. He's played in Baltimore for a long time, and there are many that believe that Baltimore, while the numbers may not show it every single year, but there can't be a better home run hitting park than Camden Yards. And there's ball 4 to Scope.
Yeah, that's true about that, but you're also facing what would be pretty good pitching in that American League East every year. Never did look like he was comfortable in the box. He's got happy feet, Scope does, when he's getting ready to hit. Anyway, he takes ball 4 with 1 out.
Brewers have 4 hits. They've been issued 5 walks, and their only run in this game came on a bases loaded 4-pitch walk to Christian Yelich in the 5th inning. So now the dangerous Moustakas, who's looked like a completely different player here in Cincinnati than we saw in Milwaukee last week. He has knocked the cover off the ball here the last 3 days. 1 hit today and 3 at bats, has scored a run. Scope has not been, at least with the Brewers, a stolen base threat. In fact, he doesn't have a single stolen base attempt since joining Milwaukee. Case could be made he's not getting on enough to run. Votto knocks it down. They'll take the out there, and they'll double up Moustakas to end the inning. Bottom of the 9th coming up, 1-1 game. Brewers have made a pitching change. They're going to bring in the right-hander Corbin Burns, and perhaps Votto check a little video of this Milwaukee right-hander.
We've seen a lot of Burns since he's been called up. Just a young guy, 23 years old, drafted in 2016, 4th round by the Brewers. Went to St. Mary's College of California. Same place that Tom Cambiotti went to school. radio announcer for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Votto will be his first hitter in this inning.
Votto, Irvin, and Casali, the scheduled trio. So Reds trying to win this series, coming up with a run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Reds winning the series opener. A wild slugfest here last night, and Votto, this one off the end of the bat into right center, well short of the track. 1 pitch, 1 out. Irvin 1 of 3 had a single to right center in the 7th inning. He scored the only Reds run of this game on a 2-out double by Dielson Herrera. That came with 2 outs in the 7th off starter Wade Miley. Oh. Straight up in the air. This will be the 2nd out. There's Takis there to glove it quickly. 2 away on a grand total of 3 pitches. Reds have only drawn 1 walk today and collected a total of 5 hits. We told you the Brewers have 4 hits, but they've been walked 5 times. 1 to Casali. Stope ranging far to his left, and it's a 1-2-3 ninth. We're going to the 10th inning for a 2nd straight day. It's a 1-1 game. We go into a little overtime here today. The Reds in extra inning games are 6-9. The Brewers won their 8th game in extra innings at 15 decisions here last night. And the Reds again will turn to their bullpen. One of the rare nights where he just didn't appear to have it last night was David Hernandez. He gave up 3 runs, 4 hits in a little more than an inning.
Yeah, we've not seen really any of those games at all from Hernandez, who has just been rock solid. 5-0 record. He's been in 45 games. Doesn't walk very many. They'll need him to put a 0 on the board here. Bottom of the lineup.
Swing and a miss by Hernan Perez. He'll be followed by Kratz and in the pitcher spot.
Boy, keep it on him right there. 2 breaking pitches, 2 awful looking swings from Perez.
And that takes care of him on that breaking ball again. Nothing in 1 on Kratz. And now 0-2.
Well, since the start of last season, David Hernandez has been one of the best relievers out there when you get 2 strikes on the hitter. Batting average against after that, about 112. Of course, the league average is not very good, 162, but gets ahead and then puts them away.
I mentioned that Hughes has struggled against the Brewers this season. The same holds true for Hernandez. He's only given up a total of 15 earned runs all year. 6 of those have come against the Brewers. So in 5 games, he's given up 6 runs in just 3 2/3 innings against Milwaukee. Well, we mentioned 3 of those came here last night. Two balls, 2 strikes on Kratz with nobody on in the 10th. Fly ball down the right field line and caught by a fan. Mason Williams sliding to avoid any kind of collision with the wall down there. Eric Thames has moved into the on-deck circle. Whenever you think Thames in this ballpark, you think about the home run ball. They've homered in 21 straight games at Great American Ballpark. And to give you an idea about when that streak started, Scooter Gennett actually homered in the 2nd game when that streak began. That was 3 years ago. Fouled back out of play. The most games the Reds have ever homered consecutively in their home ballpark is 18. So this is a ballpark record for these Brewers at 21 in a row. Hernandez wanting that call, doesn't get it. 3-2 on Kratz. Pitch number 9 in this at bat. Hernandez v. Kratz. And this time it's strike 3, and Kratz is the one who's unhappy.
He's an excitable guy, Kratz. This one just too close to take. Nice, very little subtle movement there at the very end by Casale as he caught that ball. Didn't try to sell that too much as a strike. Just kind of holds it right there. Sometimes if as an umpire, sees a catcher move it too much, he's going to think, hey, something's going on here, and may not give you the strike call.
Thames got the start here in the game last night. Played first base. Wound up going 0 for 5 in the game. Struck out a couple of times. 0 for 4 rather. Was pinch hit for later. He's 5 for 28 against the Reds this year, but of the 5 hits, 4 of them have left the ballpark. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Good spot right there. That's a challenge spot right in the old kitchen.
Two to Thames. We'll do it again. Hernandez fans aside. 1, 2, 3 in the 10th. The Reds will bat in the bottom of the inning of a 1-1 game. Above the center field wall, panoramic views of the Ohio River, downtown, the entire ballpark. Why not book your party or group outing today visiting Reds.com. Soria, third straight day we've seen him.
This guy has been very important here for the Brewers since they've been picked him up on July the 26th. Having a good year overall. Started off with the White Sox.
Reds have Dielson Herrera to start things. He'll be followed by Brandon Dixon and then Mason Williams here in the Cincinnati 10th inning. Herrera pops it up over near the dugout. That's out of play. Aguilar's over there eyeing down that hot dog. Big fella started getting hungry last night. We showed him. And the next time he came to the plate, he hit one 8,000 miles for a home run.
Could have liked it was shot out of Redzilla.
Dropped down and spun the breaking ball that is swung on and missed. 1 for 4 in the game for Herrera. And here comes Brandon Dixon.
One of the newer offerings for Soria, a guy that used to rely a little bit more on heat and a hard breaking pitch, just giving you a little different look right there.
Reds went down on 5 pitches in the bottom of the 9th inning. There's ball 1 to Brandon Dixon. And that was against Burns, who works a perfect 9th.
Looks like they're trying to stay away from Brandon Dixon and that power that he showed last night.
Clubbed that home run off the facing of the CBTS pilot house out there in straightaway center. That brought the Reds within a single run, and that would be the final margin of victory in a 13-12 Brewers heavyweight decision here last night.
Well, what a good 2-0 pitch right there. That's a going to school type of pitch for Brandon Dixon. You don't see that down in the minor leagues. Guy goes 2-0 on you and then drops a sidearm curveball in. Wants a changeup.
Struck him out on a fastball up in the strike zone, and back-to-back strikeouts for Soria here in the 10th inning.
Yeah, that is a pitching clinic for Joakim Soria, and that at bat with Brandon Dixon. I mean, added a little bit, subtracted a little bit, finally put him away with a fastball. Guy's a cool customer here, always has been.
So 2 down for Mason Williams, who has 1 hit and 3 at bats here today. We're in the bottom of the 10th inning, and there's the second hit of the day for Mason Williams. He has 2 of the 6 hits for the Reds against Milwaukee pitching, and he represents a winning run.
Does a nice job of just taking it the other way, staying behind it. Really, the only bad at bat Williams has had on the day was the very first one when he saw 3 curveballs from the starter Wade Miley. He's been on just about everything else.
Billy Hamilton, only 1 plate appearance today, came on in the 8th inning and hooked a double down the right field line. That came with 1 out. But then got hung out to dry on a comebacker to the mound, got caught in a rundown, was tagged out, and they would retire with the Brewers' Peraza to end the inning. One ball, 1 strike on Billy. Scooter Gennett stands in the on-deck circle. That would be the pitcher spot. David Hernandez next. No action in the Milwaukee bullpen. We figured they would not use Hader again today after he threw almost 30 pitches, getting roughed up here last night. Oh, wow. Aguilar showing it to him. Snow cone style for the big man. He might start thinking about a snow cone. Big fella. For innings. We're set for the 11th in a 1-1 game. Look at Billy reacting to that liner caught by Aguilar. Scooter Gennett comes on as part of a double switch. And just called up from the minor leagues today. Been up and down the entire year. Is right-hander Austin Bryce. He's now on the pitch.
Yeah, they spent most of the second half down there in Louisville, where he threw the ball extremely well. Earned run average down around 2.2. Struck out a batter per inning. Very serviceable right-hander that probably was at the big league level a little bit more than the Reds thought he would be this year. They need him right now as a fresh arm out of the pen. Not sure what's going on over there with the dugout as the home plate umpire Nick Marley went over to visit with a couple of the Reds coaches, including Jim Riggleman.
Top of the order for the Brewers against Bryce here in the 11th inning. Kane smokes a first pitch into left field, and that one is out of here. A home run for Lorenzo Cain, and that makes it 22 straight games now. The Brewers have homered here at Great American Ballpark, an all-time record.
That may have been an all-time record for how fast the ball got out of here. The only question was whether it was hit high enough. It was definitely hit hard enough. Boy, you know the old saying of don't throw it where he just left. Kane a little bit of a step towards the shortstop there, and that pitch by Austin Bryce went right into the wheelhouse.
Christian Yelich is down a strike. 0 for 3 for Yelich today. For Kane, that's home run number 10. This one will stay in the ballpark, and Irvin over near the line, and an 0 for 4 day for Yelich. If you're looking ahead to the Cincinnati bottom half of the 11th inning, they'll have Scooter Gennett, Jose Peraza, and Joey Votto due up. Starter Wade Miley still hanging out in that dugout and smiling with his teammates, even though he won't figure in the decision. While Miley pitched an excellent game here today. 7 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, only walked 1 batter and struck out 6. Strike 1 on Aguilar. It looks like Austin Bryce is injured.
You can just see he's kind of favoring his right shoulder right there. That's what he was telling Tomas Vera, the trainer that came out to attend to him.
Looks like Jim Riggleman just said shut him down. Stevens and Iglesias are the only 2 pitchers left.
He was on the DL earlier this year, Austin Bryce was, with a back injury. I thought the back, though, was more up around the shoulder part. I make that a right lat strain, so that's definitely part of the shoulder there, and that's not good to see. Hope he's all right.
Certainly do hope he's okay. Jackson Stevens will come on to pitch, and of course he has as much time as he wants to get loose. Home run in the inning by Lorenzo Cain to give the Brewers a 2-1 lead here in the 11th inning, and we'll take a timeout. Back with more in a moment. Seen them so good. Ramirez and Lindor, 20 or more home runs, 20 or more stolen bases. First pair of switch hitting teammates to ever do that in a single season. Jeff talked about Juan Soto last night getting home run number 16 as a teenager. And Albert Pujols. He's had a lot of plantar fascia problems through the years, a lot of problems with each of his feet, but now it's a knee that will force him to miss the rest of the year. If you're wondering, Pujols still has 3 years and counting left on that deal that he signed. 10-year contract, leaving the St. Louis Cardinals to go, of course, to the Angels of Anaheim.
Speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, of course, you probably read the news where they extended their interim manager, took their interim tag off of Mike Schilt, and gave him a 3-year deal. That will make him one of only 8 managers ever in the major leagues that never played even professional baseball. His playing career stopped at a small college. So, interesting move there by the Cardinals. Very impressed with what he has done since he's taken over that Cardinal team.
So Jackson Stephens is ready to go. He's facing Aguilar with a count of 0-1. 1 out, 1 in, 2-1 Brewers lead. And a soft liner that'll fall in a base hit. Stephens, his first game back here last night, allowed a run in relief of Iglesias. He allowed a 2-out double and then another double. Derek Kratz. Now we've got timeout. Don't know what's going on here. Came over in the Brewers dugout. I think they're going to have Arcia come on and run for Aguilar.
He might still be tired from trying to run the second bases last time out there. Didn't quite make it in time.
Ready for some nourishment. Getting it done today, the big man. Been on base a couple of times. And here's Braun. Probably see Perez go over to first base, I would imagine. Slow roller down to third. Dixon gloves. Throws on the run for the second out. Arcia advancing on to second base. And they do have Josh Hader getting loose. So maybe that was going to be the only situation Craig Counsell would use him in here today, and it's pretty convincing that is the case. They're going to bring him on to try and close it out. Runner at second, and Scope a swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike. And now Scope, you could hear that all the way up here. Drilled with that pitch from Stephens on a 1-1 count. Boy, you could hear that in the third deck.
Not protected either. He's got a little bit of a padding on his tricep area, but that forearm completely exposed. That got him right on the bone.
Trainer's going to trot along right behind him. And now he'll turn around and go back. So 1 more out to get for Jackson Stephens before the Reds can come to bat in the bottom of the 11th inning. A home run leading off this inning by Kane breaks a 1-1 tie. And this should be the final out. Moustakis in the air, foul ground for Dixon, and that's that. But damage done, a home run. Reds have big hitters coming up. Down a run. Garcia stays in the game to play short. And moving over to first from short is Hernan Perez. And now on to pitch. Reds really roughed him up here yesterday. In 2/3 of an inning, Josh Hader gave up 3 hits, walked a batter, gave up 4 runs. He gave up a 2-run double to Scooter Gennett, a 2-run home run to Eugenio Suarez, and then after a walk and a single the following inning, he was charged with 2 runs when Williams gave up a home run to Michael Lorenzen. First pitch swinging is Gennett, and that's the way it starts in the last of the 11th inning.
I thought it was interesting yesterday that Craig Counsell got him out of there after 2/3 of an inning, realized it just was not going to be Hader's night. So why burn up pitches from one of the best relievers in all of baseball when he's not having a good night? Come back when we need you again. I mean, the numbers that Hader has been able to compile this year, you know, the strikeout rate, for instance, almost double what the major league average is. He has averaged 46% strikeouts of the batters he's faced this year. Major league average 24.
That went off the mask of the catcher, Crass. Reds have left 5 on base. The Brewers have stranded 7. Each team with 6 hits. Yelich to his left, puts a glove on it. The Reds are down to their final out. Soria, the pitcher of record, and Bryce for the Reds. Votto, his first game back from a disabled list, and Joey 0 for 4, struck out looking in the first, bounced to first in the 4th, and a pair of fly balls since in the 7th and 9th innings. Votto 0 for 4 in his career, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks against Hader. Breaking ball in there, a strike. In and out of the mitt of the catcher Kratz, and he gets a new baseball from the home plate umpire. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball high. Two and two to Votto. Softly hit up the middle, and Scope is there, and that's the old ball game. Hader with a 1-2-3. 11th inning, and the Brewers win the final 2 games of this series to win the series 2-1. Time for the Miller Lite hold true moment. Is there any debate about that? Nope. 1-1 game in the 11th inning. The very first pitch. Lorenzo Cain makes it a 2-1 Milwaukee lead and turns that into a 2-1 Milwaukee win. Back-to-back extra inning games. So these two teams will be a little tired as they both hit the road. Reds are on their way to St. Louis. Reds Live, the post game coming up next on Fox Sports Ohio.